Has anyone got any questions, comments, insights?
No? I think I put off lots of things because unless I can do it the best there is, I wouldn't do it. And that might be something that's, I don't know, just say something in the garden. So nothing that I've got any knowledge or expertise of. I've seen on Pinterest or wherever what the perfect one looks like, in inverted commas. Yep. So I put off doing it unless it's going to look like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the all aspects of it, or it'll cost me, I don't know, 10 grand or something. So then I'm like, well, we can't do it.
I love that. And I love that honesty, Ruth. And I think that's the key thing. I think with the fact that we've got access to so much more information, very often what we're seeing is the end product. But if you think about all the people that you've coached, and if you've been a sports person yourself, is that person who won that gold medal didn't just wake up one morning and went, I want to win a gold medal today, because that's not going to happen. So I set myself a little challenge. I don't know if you can really see because it's getting dark, but these things, let me show you. I don't know if this one's really got them on, but I paint these. Okay, so this is my way of stop causing trouble. But if I can see it, well, if I put it close to the camera, you'll see it. So I do loads of different ones of these, and I've been doing them for about 3 years. But the promise I make myself is that every single one that I do on canvas, and I do them on stones as well, they have to go up for me to see, regardless of what it looks like. And if I zoom in on the close in the center, oops, I can't see my own camera. Can you see how messy that is in the middle? Oops, no, I can't do it.
No, it looks perfect.
It's not perfect. That's the whole point. But it's got mistakes on it. But I make myself, I'm trying to find one of, there you go. There's one there. Look, you see those two dots are too close together. Oh, it goes up and down there. It shouldn't do. So my deal is, no matter what it looks like, is it goes up on the wall. Because if imperfection, we all have imperfections. Every single one of us has imperfections. I heard this beautiful story today about some tribe in Africa, and I don't know the tribe, so I apologize, I can't give any more information than that. But they have this whole theory that every child is born with a song in them. And the moment they know that the woman is pregnant, they start listening for the child's song. And they discover the child's song. And once they've discovered the child's song, they start singing it to the woman. That's the child's song. They sing it during its birth. They sing it throughout its life and any significant points. They sing it as a celebration, but they also sing it to the child when the child dies. And obviously not a child at that point, they're an adult. But it's because they recognize that every single person has their own uniqueness. They're all bringing their own gift to life. And that's important for us to recognize is, we can do that. And women are awful at this because, go back to the conditioning, we've actually been conditioned into seeing ourselves as a threat, as competition, when in fact, the true origin of the word competition is to serve together. How can we work together to support each other? How can I highlight your brilliance? How can I show you how great you are? Not because I'm waiting for you to go, oh, and you're great as well, Jules. That's not what it's about. That's why I love when Linda sent me that email. That's why I thought it was fantastic for her to bring her up and go, share with everybody. Not because, oh my God, she's got Facebook nailed and she's got a gazillion clients. And it's not because of that. She's done something that she's been putting off for ages and just gone for it. And I think that's amazing. That's where we need to start celebrating each other, because then we're going to start to see our own gifts. Does that make sense? Yeah. And there's something I'm kind of cutting around a little bit because I'm conscious of time and I want to answer as many of these as possible. But this sort of links into that, but it's not been mentioned because you wouldn't mention it because it's a phrase that I've learned years ago, which is that we often fall into the easy trap. Now, what I mean by the easy trap follows on from what I was just saying about the African tribe and the children, that they all have their own gift in them. Every single one of you has got your own gift in them, gift in you rather. But what we do is we fall into the easy trap. All of the things that you find simple and easy, because you find them simple and easy, you dismiss them. You think, well, anyone could do that. Anybody recognize that they do that? I love those hands. There was a hand going up, going, oh yeah, it was me, it was me. The thing is what we end up doing is then we're dismissing our own gifts. It's like somebody is walking towards you with a big box going, oh my God, look at how amazing you are, and handing it to you and you go, bat that away. Anyone could do that. So my challenge, if you choose to accept it, is for you to start listening to when other people pay you compliments or notice the things that you find easy. So, for example, I didn't know that I was a coach until the coach that I originally had, before I obviously trained as a coach, reflected some stuff back at me. And he was like, you do this questioning thing very easily. You should go and train in this, because this could be your next business or your business. I also didn't realize that I have a natural way of distilling information, complicated information. As long as I access it, as long as I understand it, I have a way of distilling it that makes it accessible for more people. Well, the reason I do that is because that's how I function and how I remember it. But what I hadn't realized was how useful that is for other people when I'm sharing information. Now, my guess is you all have different things, and it may be something around the way that you set up your training sessions. It may be the way that you attract clients. It may be the way that you bring people together. It may be that you have a speciality of being able to spot somebody's stride and being able to adjust it. There's a whole heap of things, and I'm not even going to pretend to understand the complexities or the different things that you do. But there will be, I absolutely guarantee it, be things that you do simply and with ease that you don't realize are your gifts. I don't care what your age is. I don't care what your education level is or your financial situation. I absolutely guarantee that that is possible. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So let me move on. So the criticizing and judging others comment, I think it was Joanne. I know that followed on from leaving our lane. Are they both connected? I wrote them as separate, but are they connected?
Yes, it's
okay.
Criticizing and judgment by others, because we've left our lane, rather than of judging other people.
Yeah, I get you. Okay. So how do we know, and you can stay unmuted if you would like to answer this question, Joanne, how do we know that their judgment or criticism is true, is right, is fact, and that we are wrong?
We don't.
Okay.
And that's what we ended up discussing, was that the fear of others' criticism or being judged by others, quite a lot of the time, we don't know if they are criticizing us, if they are judging us, or if we think that somebody's doing that. And then if we think about ourselves, it's like, how often do we criticize other people, or do we judge other people? And when we started talking about that, we were like, well, we don't really. If somebody does something, we're usually more positive about it. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting then. So where then does the criticism and judgment actually sit?
It sits on our shoulders ultimately. And
it's literally on our shoulders in here.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you a true story. So I had a very deep and meaningful friend who I've known for a long, long time, a few weeks back, and she was upset about something I'd said 3 years ago. 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Good memory.
Not that I'm better. Anyway, but she said to me, I'd said this thing, and then she said that all of these other things that she'd got an issue with all followed on from that one thing. And I said, okay, well, I take responsibility for that one thing. Let's talk about that. And yet all of these other things I've never said and I've never done, but you've been punishing me for those things. And she was like, well, yeah. And I said, but I never thought those. I've never said those. You've been saying them, you've been thinking them. but you've been punishing me for it. And she had this light bulb moment of realization of going, oh my gosh, I've been judging myself and criticizing myself, but that's so uncomfortable for the thinking mind. This is extremely common, which is why I'm sharing it. That I've been making those judgments of myself and criticizing myself. I'm uncomfortable with that. So I'm going to project it out onto you and think that you're thinking it, because that's far easier for me to deal with, because I can then blame you rather than sit with the realization of, I'm thinking that. I'm the one who's thinking that I shouldn't switch sports. I'm the one that's thinking that I shouldn't do that because I'm a woman. I'm the one that's thinking that I'm too old, too young, too whatever. Does that make sense? Does that resonate, Joanne? There was lots of nods before I even got to you. But does that make sense, Joanne?
Yeah, it does. And it kind of links in, because we said, if, and we are all human, we do criticize others and we do judge others, but usually we can back it up with a fact. Do the emotion would maybe kind of go out of it. If you think that somebody's done something a bit stupid, that was really stupid, but because it endangered the kids that we were looking after, because it, they hadn't put the right safety equipment in place. There's like a reason, not so just the move.
So I would actually start to look at a couple of things there, and this is nuancing of things, which is around, first of all, check whether something is fact, because very often fact isn't fact. It's a tiny bit of fact, but with a lot of opinion, but it sounds so grounded that it's fact. So always, for all of us in every situation, is to check what is actually fact versus what we think is fact. So that's my first thing. But the second thing I then think about is, rather than thinking about it as criticism, I would think about it all as feedback. So I'm giving you feedback or I'm receiving feedback, but it's feedback. That feedback could be, you're amazing, you're fantastic, you're wonderful. That feedback could be, you're a pile of shit and I hate you. Ultimately, it's feedback from somebody else. What I do with that is up to me. It's like a wonderful story. How true it is, I don't know, but the Buddha was going around sharing his teachings not long after his enlightenment, and some man came up to him in a village, and you're just walking around all these villages and taking people's homes and taking people's foods, and what have you got to share? Just these teachings and rah, 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 and really let rip at the Buddha. And he was sat there and all these people are listening, and they're kind of like doing the whole tennis match thing of watching between the guy who's angry and Buddha. And the guy finished and the Buddha said, thank you. And he was like, why are you not angry at me? And he said, I don't need to take your gift just because you've given it to me. And I think that's so important for us all to recognize that somebody can offer an opinion, and that's feedback. We can then sit there and go, do I want to take this? Is it helpful? Is there anything that they've shared that may be uncomfortable for me? I might be going, I don't like it when they say things like that, but they're right. That doesn't make it negative feedback. It's still feedback. Equally, they might be going, oh my gosh, you're amazing, you're wonderful. And you're like, I'm quite uncomfortable with that kind of praise, but we can still take it or leave it. It's up to us how we do it. Does that make sense? I am very quickly just going to say nobody knows everything. Nobody. You are all experts in your own field. You can all learn more just in the same way that I can and do on a day-to-day basis. I didn't realize it was going to get so dark. I do apologize. I'm getting closer and closer to the screen as the light is fading. But when you can recognize that I know what I know right now, can I learn more? Yes. If I am pretending or faking that I know more, that's when I'm going to feel uncomfortable. But when I sit in my own knowledge, so what I would encourage you to do, and this will also link into the imposter syndrome. I have a question for you. If you know, it's not the imposter syndrome, sorry, into perfectionism. If you know you're somebody that chases perfectionism, here's a question for you to ask yourself each and every day. How can I make my standards achievable? I can still have them high, but how can I make them achievable? How can I make my standards achievable? Because what happens with perfection is we set that bar there And as we go toward it, we then move it, and then we keep going, and then we move it. And that's why we never feel like we achieve anything. But I can have a high standard and I can move toward it, get there and go, yay me, look, if I can get there, I can probably go up there. And then I get there. So that's where you make them achievable. And something that can help with that, and some of the other things we've spoken about is, and I think I've mentioned this before as well, is collate your achievements list. Keep hold of the things that you've achieved. It doesn't matter how big they are. Again, that's why I asked Linda to come on, because it is important. And anyone who wants to email me and share things, I would love it to hear, no matter how they may, you may think, yeah, but this is really small. It's not. I have a client who has had kind of the sort of life you wouldn't invite anybody to have, quite frankly. And this is going to sound small, but she started being able to watch television for the first time 2 weeks ago, for the first time in like years. Now, for most people, they're like, what? But for her, that was huge. And she knew she didn't have anybody else to celebrate that other than me, because I knew the magnitude of that. Does that make sense? So sometimes, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else in the group that you've shared something with, when we were talking about blah, 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 you're never going to guess, but I've done da, 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 da. Then utilize it, share it. When you start to celebrate things, you'll recognize actually what you can do and do on a day-to-day basis that's going to give you that opportunity to acknowledge things. Now, I recognize that I haven't gone through everything because it's a beautifully big, long list, but I'm going to keep this list so that I can use it to adapt some of the other sessions that we're doing.